it feels like they are having so much fun with breaking our judgments about ourselves. So especially when people are always struggling financially, especially light workers, and they connect with their crystals and they ask, okay, what do you think about money? I always feel that they are trying to show us that money is this divine frequency which we can tune into and we can receive from that frequency instead of struggling in this linear world which is everywhere around us.
Hello, and welcome to the Liminal Frequencies podcast, where we dive deep into healing frequencies from our ancestors, frequencies of the earth and stars, sound, color, and light, and all of the subtle ways that we can tap into our unique vibration to awaken the highest timeline and integrate the fullest expression of our being. Now let's dive in. Welcome to the Liminal Frequencies podcast. I'm so excited for our host today. Her name is Veronika Wildova. She is an international soul reader and light language activator. She helps people connect with their soul and remember their starseed memories and capacities. She channels songs to connect with divine essences and the depth of the heart. How beautiful to speak with a light-minded light worker who speaks light language. So incredible. I want to share a little bit with you from a oracle deck that I have. It is the archetype deck. And the theme for today was the temple. The temple is a universal and omnipresent energy, accessible in the highest and lowest, richest and poorest of places. Visiting the temple might be as simple as stepping into the dappled light of the forest, slowly and sensuously kissing a lover, or closing your eyes to travel inward. This card is a call to re-examine what you pay homage to and what you reject. What do you spend your time worshiping? What barriers do you draw between yourself and the sacred? Perhaps there is room on your altar for something new, something surprising. Offer it to the heavens. I'm so excited to share with you a potential new friend, a new crystal being that you could work with. In this interview, we dive into all of the things existential and all of the things that connect us to our soul's journey. Hello, and thank you so much, Veronika, for joining us on the Liminal Frequencies podcast. It's such a pleasure to speak with you.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. Thank you for having me today.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm really excited to learn about your path towards acknowledging your starseed self. I was wondering when that happened. What was the origin story?
Oh, thank you for such a beautiful question. And I used to work in IT and I was a musician. And I always did something spiritual because I had to get over depression and anxiety. And I guess this is similar for many starseeds out there, that they usually prepare some challenging things in their life to awaken and to connect more with their heart and uh, their um, their empathy. So yeah, always. mm I was always connected to consciousness somehow because I had to work through things going on with my mind and body. And then when I was 28, I think, there when COVID hit, I we were forced to stay at home, everybody, and I started questioning my purpose here on Earth. And the universe told me that I should help people connect with their soul. And at the beginning, I didn't trust at all. I was like, okay, this sounds like ego, like spiritual uh, bypass. But yeah, the message kept showing up, and I started. I tried. I started having sessions for free. I started developing the intuition, and over time, uh, I started doing sessions which I called soul reading, and receiving a lot of information about past lives and family lines and what is going on with a person's body. But then I also started having clients who had memories of wars, like cosmic wars behind
Wow.
uh, this earth. And at the beginning, I was so surprised, and I thought, like, okay, this is maybe too much. But as I went deeper into it, there were more and more information showing up, and each client brought in different kind of information, and it all started connecting together. And I had to look into a lot of resources abroad because there was not enough resources in my country. And yeah, this is how I found out about different star nations. And eventually when eventually light language hit me, it was just um, cherry on top, because I was already feeling like in completely different space
Yeah.
from everybody else. And then yeah, it just made sense.
Did
And
it
so at
flood?
first when
The light
sorry,
language, did it flood out when you first started?
how light language started,
Did it
or
flood? Like when you first started, did it open?
so I had a session with my client, and we were going through her Lemurian memories. And I felt in my, because always when I'm connected to somebody's soul, I can feel with my heart and with my third eye what is going on there. And I felt with my heart that if I talk to her in this strange language, which wanted to came through, that it will help her connect more to her home, to the Lemurian energy, to this beautiful place. And I asked her, like, okay, this is what is going on, and I think I will talk to you in a strange language. Is it okay for you? And she said, yeah, so okay, just do it. And
Wow.
and for me, it was such a strange but beautiful experience. And she started crying immediately. So I knew at that point that we both hit the home frequency, and that was the beginning.
Yes.
Um,
I actually spoke light language on Mount Shasta.
oh, nice,
That's where all the
beautiful.
Lemurian, some of the Lemurian civilizations descended into the mountain. And at first, I was trying to translate it. Like I was like, oh, I think I know what this word means, and then I realized that the words are so profoundly deeper in knowing and connection than any word that we can say. So it really like dampens the power of it to try and figure out what it means. But it's just
Mhm.
something that you feel, and I've noticed. I talked to some other people about light language, and when you first start, it's like a dam has been removed, and all of a sudden, it really wants to flow. You don't want to stifle it anymore.
That's beautiful. And did you talk light language before, or the Mount Shasta was the first point when you
No,
connected to?
I actually always did in my sleep, but I didn't know it was light language.
Okay, it's beautiful. And which energy, if I can ask, which energy do you feel connected the most right now? Like the Pleiadians or Lemurians, or what is your?
Arcturian, but
Okay.
somewhat of Palladian.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely had some time with the Palladians. And Lemurian, I don't know that I've been part of that, but I have, I think we all exist in many timelines at once. And so I did this thing where you take a Lemurian crystal,
Mm-hmm.
and there's little lines on it. There's little like horizontal lines on it, and you like rub your finger on the texture. And when I did that, I kind of meditate and I imagine like I'm in this cave system underground, and like we're all being nourished in this crystalline field. So yeah, that was like really magical to learn how to connect with the Lemurian ancestors that way.
Beautiful.
Oh, and what
That's
about
wonderful.
you? What star beings are coming forward for you?
Well, I think I started with Pleiadians, as many of us do, as it felt very natural. But then when I started helping others to activate their light language, many other energies started coming in, because I also know, yeah, I guess also not just people, but their soul families wanted to get some healing and clearing, and getting to this feeling of that everything is in peace.
Mm-hmm.
So currently, I feel most connected to Andromeda, and also Kuan Yin energy.
Yeah.
I spent a few months in Indonesia. Like, I arrived 2 weeks ago, so I felt
Wow.
very connected to the Zen energy, and gods, and divine beings which are worshipped there.
Yeah.
Um,
Any downloads that you
yeah.
had while you were in Indonesia?
Uh, any download?
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I it was very strange, because I felt so drawn to Philippines, and I was channeling many starseed workshops from there to my home country. But when I was there for the second time, I felt like this purpose just disappeared, and I flew to Bali, and I thought that Bali would be full of tourists, and I was afraid that I will feel disconnected there. But actually, in Ubud, which is central esoteric city,
Mm-hmm.
I
I've
would
been
say,
there.
you were there,
Uh-huh.
yeah. So you can imagine. I was so surprised how heart opening and womb opening and everything opening
Wow.
Ubud was, and. I think the main download was the compassion I had there, the energy of divine compassion, which went straight through my body, and I kept crying. And I also met many people who were crying, just random girls from workshops, or even in a co-working space or by the sea. I always sat next to somebody, and I was in this compassionate energy, and there would be people sitting around me talking about their stories, and we both would just start crying over
Wow. That's
our
amazing.
heartbreaks and
How are
stuff.
you integrating from that? It's like when you come back home, it's like it's so hard to be back in a space, like a different frequency than you were used to for a bit.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I felt strongly over there that I would love to create community, and more conscious, and community of people who will be supportive of each other's emotions. And
Yes.
I,
Me too. Me too. That's my path. And it's going from a place where that's already an infrastructure and has deep roots to a place where there's a lot of opportunity, I feel like, where for me, but to where it does still feel like something has to be built and established is a difficult integration.
yeah, yeah, definitely. And in Ubud, it all felt like very easy.
Mm-hmm.
There are all those yoga centers which are connected with nature and with water and trees, and it
Yeah.
feels very like home there. Like the
Yeah.
connection with people, heart, and nature. And
Yeah.
then when I came back to Europe, I live in Prague. I was like, okay. So now I am searching for this place inside me to reconnect to that space of creation, and I hope
Yeah.
that I will be able to translate it to
Yeah.
my home country.
One of my realizations lately is that when we come together, I was just also at this beautiful, I was in Colombia. I've been back for a little while, but I just went to a sound healing workshop in Colorado. And I was surrounded by just really bright lights, people who get me if I say something and they won't think I'm crazy. And we were talking about how sometimes we have to spread ourselves out in life in order to not we have our lights and we recharge our lights together, but then we separate and we create a grid together with all of our bright lights and our energies, and that grid activates other parts of the world. And so that's what I'm actually trying to do with this podcast, is like bring people in that, like, for me, having this a podcast to listen to that I can relate to the energy shift, and like we're speaking the same language, it makes me feel more like connected. And so to have people out there that can find me, connect with you, like share things, maybe people who want to be on the podcast, and just keep ourselves able to have these conversations and able to like spread that frequency of love, as you were saying, unconditional love.
Yeah, definitely.
I actually is interesting. I use I don't know if you use a system for channeling or anything. Like, do you or do you just have your own process?
I think so, because I also visited some courses for reading from Akashic records, but it all felt very complicated. And I just feel that for some of us it's natural gift. And what I always do is I ask for the divine truth, highest kindness, and highest good, to make sure that I'm receiving from the love frequency. And even though there are definitely some entities and star nations and all those dimensions where there also can be some illusions or blockages over there, I always make sure that that it all heads to the divine truth. And it's not, it's never me. Like I never felt like it's me channeling. It's more like I'm receiving the most loving, compassionate answer.
And we all channel, whether or not we know it or not. I have a friend musician that I was talking to about that. Like, when you play a guitar solo, you're channeling. If you try and think about it, if you try and focus on what you're doing, it doesn't come out well. But also, the Akashic Records it's like a system of connecting to these guides. And when you're channeling, you're putting yourself into this space anyways. And then you're asking for the highest good. And that's what separates, I think, channeling from Akash, is that the Akash just has a specific intention of like, connecting with the guides and bringing yourself into this. And it's slightly different, but, as long as you have the intention and the highest good and the connection, when you're working with people, that really brings out to the point where it's almost like when we're channeling in this workshop, somebody's in front of us and they say, oh, like, I have some heartbreak, I have some feelings of betrayal, and then we'll start singing, and it's almost like they're channeling or they're doing it, and we're just opening ourselves up to that. But I wanted to share with you, because I pull a card for the session that I do, like the podcast session, and the word that came up was emerald. Have you ever worked with emerald?
No.
Emerald is it's both like a heart opener and heart balancer, and also helps to detoxify the lungs. I was in Colombia and I was using the book, the Crystal Bible, as a tarot, and I was able to just identify it with so much. And my friend that I was with gave me a little piece of emerald, because I think it said, it helps your home and family life, helps you to feel more balanced and at ease, and it also helps to detoxify the lungs and maybe some grief that's in the lungs. And I had like a little cold, but I wasn't coughing, and I started on a part of the trip, and I got in the taxi, and immediately I started coughing. I had that emerald with me. So it was working on me.
It's nice. Yeah, so you have your favorite crystal, you might say, or not crystal, but yes, it's the crystal, right? The emerald stone.
Yeah.
It's nice. Yeah, I use other crystals. I usually use rose quartz and just the pure one. Crystal in Czech. I don't know how to say it in English, but I use them as amplifiers.
What's it called?
The rose quartz. This one.
Yeah. And that one actually came through too just now. It's rose quartz. And the crystal.
Yeah, the basic one, the white clear
quartz.
I think I
Nice.
would have to translate it, but I use those ones as activators on my light language workshops, and they are
Yeah.
always because they have all the colors,
Yeah.
so they just choose whatever is good for the
Yeah.
person, and I trust them, and that's it.
Oh, yeah. Our friends and the most ancient life forms on Earth. Um, I like blue apatite too for opening like language and channeling.
Mhm. Yeah, that's beautiful, and I think it's the greatest experience we could have or we had with crystals was asking them to show us how what they think about money, for example, or what they think about being connected to each other, and they are always. It feels like they are having so much fun with breaking our judgments about ourselves. So especially when people are always struggling financially, especially light workers, and they connect with their crystals and they ask, okay, what do you think about money? I always feel that they are trying to show us that money is like this divine frequency which we can tune into and we can receive from that frequency instead of struggling in this linear world which is everywhere around us. And yeah, it's just funny to work with crystals. I
Yeah.
hope
So
that
you ask the
they will.
crystals questions.
Yeah, I also have a friend who puts them on different chakras and
Yeah.
based on her intuition. And uh, so for me, the strongest is working with the rose quartz, and it can bring in many energies. But it helped me very much when I was channeling Andromedan energy to my mom and myself when we were clearing our female woman's lineage line
Yes.
in a family.
Wow.
So this crystal actually helped us to understand which choices were made in the history of our family and what we can let go of and what we can
Hmm.
forgive and what we can embody as a new paradigm. So I always ask the crystal, okay, can you show me or can you amplify, please, the energy of divine or the download or what can we bring as a
Mm.
new energy here? And it always does, and it sometimes it feels very strong. So I'm careful with that, but it's I really feel them as like modems to the internet of crystals.
Yes, I have a big fluorite right here on my desk, and that
Oh,
helps with
beautiful.
the frequency of technology, which I guess you can also use the crystals or just use your intention to clear the any implants or any offset vibrations that are in your technology that are
Mhm.
interfering with like your optimal flow. So you can make a grid
Mhm.
around the technology as if it's an extension of your auric fields.
Yeah. Yes, definitely. And your crystal has the same color as your hoodie, the isn't it? Or as your the crystal
Oh,
you showed me, it has similar color too.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's like we all have this technology available and these guides available, but are we actually utilizing, putting them to work, delegating them? Our guides are waiting for us to ask for help, and when we ask for help, then only then will they be able to help us. They won't be able to help us before that.
Yeah. So are you like channeling yourself or doing this kind of work with people?
Yeah, I mean, I'm an acupuncturist, and I started
Mm.
out with more of a three-dimensional view of it. And then I started to, around 2020 also, I started to get some downloads about energy that was in the field because I was also clairvoyant with like, it's kind of doesn't make sense, but with touch. Like I would feel
Yeah.
I would see where the energy was in the body. And when the energy moved out of the body, I was like, weird, let's try some sound. I had one singing bowl, and then
Mhm.
I ended up getting a set of tuning forks, reading Eileen McCusick's Tuning the Human Biofield, which I read in
Mhm.
like maybe 24 hours. It was really incredible. how she created her own system of the biofield map and how it shows the different emotions and things that are stuck in the biofield. And I started also doing in the next year work with the Akashic records, and that really opened up a lot of information. Just using it, just tapping into the intuition and practicing it, I could receive more about people's history. So kind of in a more of a psychological, therapeutic way. When somebody had some past trauma, like we don't have to talk about it, but we might use some verbal cues to bring them into that frequency. And then I would channel sounds. And, the more, if I worked with some plant medicine, ayahuasca, and that really helped me tap into the clairaudience that I had to hear the frequencies and to allow them to come through. I think we all have these amazing abilities, but we are in a linear way about when we receive information. We often don't realize that we're not making it up, and our ego and stuff just needs to step aside so that we can receive the highest frequencies.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's why I always ask for this highest truth and highest love, because at the beginning, my ego was very loud about you are not ever going to reach somebody's soul, and there's sort of things our mind says when we try to develop our starseed gifts. And I just feel that connecting to the intention of love, our highest love, or whatever works for you, is always very helpful to kind of let go of the mind which is protesting. So
absolutely. I think that love connects everything and anything in the entire world. And if we tap into that frequency, we're not trying to change something of our own will. We're trying to ask for the highest transformation to occur, and to facilitate that as people that are available to facilitate it and are able to hold space for whatever needs to happen. Not like change needs to happen, or transformation is like hurry up.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
So what do you which part of are you in the United States now?
I'm in Washington State.
And are you traveling a lot to those sacred places?
When I can. I know traveling is really hard on your body, but when I'm called, I like to go. And there's definitely so many beautiful places around the world and sacred places, but also there's just being in your own heart is so sacred that I think there are a lot of one of my theories about all of the conflict that happens in the world is there's a lot of really beautiful sacred sites and stargates and spiritual sites that are ancient, and there's dispute about the access to those places. And sometimes as humans we forget, like there's something very powerful about these places, but also we have access to all of that within us, and we forget that. We forget that we're completely divine, and
yeah, definitely.
Did you have clairs come online when you were a child? Did you have strange dreams? Was there anything that was pointing you in the direction of spirituality?
Well, not that I remember. I wish I could say something like that, but my childhood was very hard in a way. When I was already in the womb of my mom, I could feel her suffering. So when I was born and the suffering continued, I was more focused on what my parents were going through. And when they divorced when I was 4, I just grew up into this very I mean, I was very tuned into energies of others. So,
Mm-hmm.
as I've heard, sometimes being a strong empath is the result of you having to go through some serious trauma
Yeah, for
when you were a child.
survival, because we were trying to we were either trying to get away from the conflict or we were trying to support our direct family members by taking on that. And when we were, I think, before the age of 7, we didn't have our own completely developed ego, and so we just took on the beliefs of others. And yeah,
Yeah.
it's a definitely the first part of some people's spiritual journey, and I can relate to that on some level. Is like separating yourself from others and like unpacking what as a child everything feels fine and normal sometimes until we realize that that maybe it
Yeah.
wasn't.
So, so actually, I think I started when I was 14 with Reiki and channeling, and not channeling, but I had angel cards, and I tried to connect with my guides, and it was, but I had so much so many emotions stored in my body, including guilt and shame and those heavy feelings of like that I'm responsible for everybody and everything. That it was very hard to connect at the beginning. So I had to clear a lot, and I think that was the actual beginning of my journey. This feeling of so many heavy energies within my own system and having to go through them layer by layer for many years and then eventually clearing them. And I think that's why the consciousness in my body developed so much, because there was just so much stuff to clear. But then eventually I did. So, and
And did you have help to clear it? Did you do a lot of it yourself?
majority of that myself. And then I started going through different healing modalities when it was more popular in my country. I was born in 1990, which was 1 year after Velvet Revolution, and until that year, all those things weren't very legal. So,
What
kind
revolution?
yeah, in the 1989, we had Velvet Revolution in Czech Republic. It
Okay.
used to be Czechoslovakia, and we used to have a very strong communist party here, and also invasion from Soviet Union. So
Yes.
we had it was it just wasn't allowed to be a healer before the 1989. And I was luckily born in 1990, which was the first year of freedom.
Wow.
So all those resources just started coming in, like the books
Yeah.
about healing and God, and
Lifting the
it just
veil back up after the same. I believe the same thing kind of stifled the process of Chinese medicine
yeah,
because they burned a lot of books that talked about the meridians going into the earth and into the sky and connecting with all things. And it became more of like a pharmaceutical prescription, just do this point for this condition. So, many of us at that time were reaching this quantum mass of spirituality by like the end of the 90s, and just like we're starting to feel that like huge shift now into like higher states of consciousness and like realizing what we really are, which isn't a three-dimensional thing, the soul.
yeah, yeah. So mm, I think that I think I started sending light when I was 16 as a part of my spiritual process, and that was the year when I actually received the intuitive ideas, like what to do, where to go, what to read. I started really developing that receiving too, but it really took me many years to get to the point when I was like, okay, I'm going to do soul reading. It
Yeah.
was another like 12 years of doing my own stuff. So
Yeah.
when people ask like, how do I talk to my soul and how do I open my soul gifts, I just want to support you guys that it can take some time. It doesn't have to, but for some of you, it can be a process of uncovering layers and layers, and you still get where you need to be, where you want to be. It just sometimes takes your own pace in things.
Trust the
Yes.
divine timing of everything, you know, to be on the path.
Yes.
Right. Yeah, amazing. Is there any way that you feel like humor or lightness coming into your spirituality? I mean, with light language.
Definitely, I think I use very incorrect humor. I love to combine talking about deep traumatic things and then I make fun of it. And but especially fairies and Pleiadians, I feel like they are the ones who are reminding me that okay, that was enough of talking about sad stories, and now let's get to quantum field and let's create and let's use pleasure and sexual energy and money and just celebrate life and yeah, this is definitely what I feel from especially from fairies and dragon
They make you
kingdoms.
laugh, the fairies.
Sometimes, yes. More Pleiadians use more my sense of humor because my sense of humor is very crazy. But fairies are the ones who really shift the energy and when working with emotional stuff. This is what I feel.
Do you have any like examples of something the Pleiadians have said to you that was funny?
So I I am usually a very calm person, but when I drive, and we have a very special road in Czech Republic which is full of very mad drivers, and I would always get very mad and say a lot of nasty words before even realizing it. It would be very automatic. So once I was driving and I was again I was saying some nasty words, I was cursing, and then I was judging myself, and the Pleiadians were like, no, fuck no, like just use it, just use your words, like bitches, and, and it just made me. They wanted to help me release the tension, release the energy, and then I was laughing, yes, and that was one of the thing. And then they helped me make fun of Christianity. I mean, before before any judgment, we had very strong Christian processes here in our past when people were burnt alive for their witchcraft and so on. So sometimes it's easier for us to make fun of those things because the burdens can be very heavy.
Yes.
So when I was talking to my Pleiadian guides and I was asking them about some downloads to my emotional body, and they just said, okay, but let's not do it as the Christians do. And they were showing me the picture of the priest who is who is giving sweets to little boys, making fun like of the scene where some priests are really abusing children here. But they made it really in a funny way, just to make me laugh, just to not take myself too seriously. And it's just one of the
I think spirituality should never be too serious. There's such a lightness or a sacred reverence to when things get really heavy and there's a release, then there's lightness, or tears of sorrow turn to tears of laughter. It's just like such a beautiful process when we embrace any and all emotions that are on the table.
Yeah, definitely.
So do you have any advice on how people listening can tap into the liminal frequencies, tap into their intuition, receive more from their guides?
So yeah, definitely. I think one of the best advices I can give is your soul is a unique set of many energies, and your gifts are very unique. So your soul will probably talk to you in a very natural way, in a way that feels like home to you. So at the beginning, it can feel so natural to you that you can be like, that's not it. That's too easy.
Yeah.
That's too friendly. And
Wow.
I think advices or the guidance from your intuition is always liberating and loving and compassionate, even if the intuition is like you should fucking leave your job or your husband, or even if it's very particular about you stopping abusing yourself in any situation, it will be always loving and compassionate and liberating. It will never make you feel contracted and small. So this is how you can recognize
And then
the voice
recognize
of
that
your
your
soul.
soul is telling you something in that frequency, and maybe other aspects of you, maybe saying the self-critic or something, maybe saying something else, but like, those are still important parts of us to like witness, but only witness them. Don't take that on.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think also sometimes you will feel that there are places within your body which are maybe which have heavy energy or some stored memories or something, and when you clear that, usually your soul gets more embodied, you feel more
Yeah.
in your body. And sometimes when you are looking to develop your soul gifts and soul energies, the working with your body and embodiment is very very helpful. And I feel that especially past years are very supportive, that the energies even from 5D and everything are very supportive of soul embodiment and working with your very body energy. So yes, that's my advice.
Incredible. So uh I will share, if you we can post in the description how to get in contact with you and your preferred like social media. But is there anything else you'd like to share before we hop off?
Yeah, actually, I wanted to announce that I will. I used to be a pop musician, and then when I started so reading, uh, my intuition kind of transferred into that. But now I'm releasing song about Lemuria, which will be live in two
Wow.
weeks on my YouTube channel. And
Beautiful. So by now it should
yeah,
be out. By the time people are listening, it should be available, and so we can post that, and you can start channeling the Lemurians people out there. It's so beautiful.
yeah, yeah,
I love the connection to music and spirituality, and I actually want to share like the way that I think of it when you said our soul is in our home frequency, that if there's a song and it's in the key of D, then it's like the same as our soul being in that key. And so
mhm,
maybe we're vibrating at C or vibrating at D, but we don't realize we are, because we don't hear until we connect um, to the energy of another person and then separate again. We realize, oh, this is my frequency.
yeah, yes, definitely. And thank you for asking all those questions and for opening this field for me and all the listeners, because it was incredibly lovely to share those things in such a natural way.
Yes,
So thank you.
absolutely. So grateful to connect with you, and I'm sure it'd be amazing to have another interview in the future. Thanks for everybody who's listening today, and I hope today treats you beautifully. That was such a fun interview with Veronika. And it's so interesting how when there are places on the world, maybe it's the grid, the ley lines, that there are these portals because people see and revere these spaces as so sacred that, being in the presence of somebody, it can just make you cry. You can just feel all the emotions that are available on the human spectrum. And so I want to invite you to drop in, if you can, in this moment to a sacred space, a temple that you have created within your physical body. And you may have access to different tools or helpers or guides or crystals or plants, whatever it is that excites you to connect. You can connect with that energy now. And in this connection, with all of these energies, you will connect with the frequency of your soul and all of its sacredness. The frequency of your soul is the home key, in which all other notes that exist within your being find their center. Find that frequency now, circling around it at first, feeling the wave. If you were to chart it on a line, the wave of the vibration as the frequency moves through your being and moves you. And tap into that energy for now, knowing that that is available to you. And it's not as if you're moving, if you're steering the ship and you're driving things, but you're tapping into a wave and a vibration that you're receiving from the universe that allows you to find your flow. Thank you so much for joining us. I hope you carry this frequency through you throughout the rest of your day.